Let us begin on the line that begins with the word Madrega Hu Aleph, Samach Tes, and it's 7 lines from the end, from the bottom, 6 lines from the end. It's playing in finally the posuk upon which Maimon is based. Mimono Afar Yankiv. In this posuk, there are 2 references to Neshamas Yisrael: Yankiv and Yisrael. Yisrael, he says, is Madrig of Tzaddikim. This is the oir that comes with slapshus, that comes into Keilim. Mispor es REBBE Yisrael. You count the Yisrael oiris. We'll just want to go through it. Then there is Afar Yankiv. Yankiv, this refers to Baalei tshuvah. Baalei tshuvah have a different path in life. Because let's examine this a little bit, understand why Baal Tshuvah has a different path in life. There's a pasuk that says, Elokim also is Odom Yoshor. Elokim made Odom Yoshor. Yoshor means straight. Straight means that a person would be permitted, or will permit himself, to see reality as the Eibishter has presented it to him, without convoluted pathways, without making sense of it for himself. This is the world as he presented. This is what the Rebbe gave you. This is it. Then he would see things from a godly reality perspective. The one thing about a godly reality, if I may, are you with me?
The pasuk over there was what now? Hashem made man straight.
Right. The principle of godly reality is that it does not lend itself to be grasped in human sechel. We can understand what God is. It's a first being, like the Rambam says. And this is what creates everything and what gives place for the sechel. There's no sechel, the process by which you identify what godliness is. Godliness is a reality, it's a truth beyond human conception, beyond human sechel. But the fact is that you see the world. Like we said many times, chochmah observes the truth and he doesn't question it. Does not need to grasp it in its hands, in its paws. It sees it. It's good enough. When it comes down to the point where you have to make sense of it at your level, then it becomes a convoluted process. And this is the difference between tzaddikim and baalei tshuvah. Tzaddikim, they see things from a straightforward perspective. The way the Rebbe has created them, the Rebbe showed it to them. Baalei tshuvah, they have been exposed to a different reality, to a worldly reality, to their own experiences. Therefore, for them to recognize godliness, it has to be able to be put in such concrete terms that you put a worldly aspect in concrete terms. That is a much more challenging. This is what it says. They are drawn to Hashem with a greater power, greater strength, because they have to break through all kinds of preconceived ideas.
Wait, that they want to put it into concrete terms is a failing. That they're drawn powerfully is a mila.
That's right, because they are behind the reality.
Well, because they were absent from the scene or used the wrong tools to try to get godliness, so this heightened their yearning for godliness.
They're yearning because they're completely absent of it, and that's why they have to break through all kinds of barriers. And ultimately, as a result of this, what allows it, what makes it possible for them to reconnect to godliness, a recognition of godliness at a different level than what tzaddikim recognize. At a level that can compete with their worldly orientation. But godliness and worldliness, godliness is a different level. So they have to go to the essence of godliness. This is what is called Iyar. Not as godliness manifests itself in kelim, but Iyar itself. And this is what the Rebbe says. Okay, so let's start just a line above what I might point to what you said. Baalei tshuvah. See, you have the line begins with Baalei tshuvah. RASHAB Beis Ayin Tov. Mashkin le bechel yatir. They are drawn to him with a greater strength. Hainu, which means Mamshichim, that they draw mebechinas andhu v'lo b'chushbon. Andhu chad v'lo b'chushbon. They draw from the bechina, from that aspect. That's called andhu chad. You are chad, you are one, which means the essence of godliness. V'lo b'chushbon, and not part of the process of revelation. Chushbon means a general number, an expanded number. It is chad, it is the reality itself as it is unto itself. Shezehu, which is madrega ho'alev sheba'oyer shenisboi liyil, which is the first madrega in the Iyar that we discussed earlier, before. What is this madrega ha'alev? The Rebbe is reminding us. What is madrega ha'alev sheba'oyer, which is all but discussed quite extent. V'hein bechinas es esfiras agnuzis. This is the essence bechinas es esfiras agnuzis. Let me give it a little bit of a handle on this. The first madrega in Iyar is 10 spheres. What does it mean? How 10 spheres come at the beginning? So, as we discussed, I'm going to have to be brief, but we discuss it. Iyar impact of the godly presence, which meant Oyer, starts, in terms of our discussion about Oyer is, starts after Aliyah Zorotzim. After that, there was a will, there's a divine intent to impact on a worldly level. This is where the Oyer begins. I'm saying this is where Oyer begins. It means the Oyer that has any kind of impact, any kind of presence in the world. Because prior to Aliyah Zorotzim, we think that Aliyah Zorotzim means the divine will to impact. Before that will, we have absolutely no knowledge, no access to that at all. It's not even a chad, it's not even a beginning. Chad means one. It means a beginning. It's not even a beginning. It's totally in the godly realm, nothing to do with us, with our world. The word Oyer, the word
We're talking about order.
Oyer. The word Oyer, as we discussed, Oyer means impact. To have impact, you have to present yourself. If you're into yourself, you don't have any impact.
Impact means ashpa.
Huh?
Ashpa.
Yeah. So this we discuss at great length. And the first madriga of Oyer is Oyer Ein Sof. The way the Oyer is in its abode, in its truth.
Which is not impact.
And you see it's the beginning of impact. Oyer means impact. This is the Oyer as it is first emanating from its source.
So, or in sof.
This is the Oyer as it is contained within the Oyer in Sof. What's called Esesphiras Hagnuzos. Esesphiras Hagnuzos means the spheres are gonus. Gonus means they're contained within their source. But within their source, there's already an element of Oyer, thank you, that's intended for impact. This is where the word Esesphiras, 10 spheres comes from. What Esesphiras? To discuss it, 10 spheres represents a structure of spheres. What is the point of structure of spheres? Initially, Mitzad Oyer in Sof, there is an unlimited number of spheres. What is a structure? A structure of spheres, 10 spheres, coming from chochmah on down into Malachus. This is a structure that is intended to make an impact, to come down to the world. This is the beginning of Oyer. How does that Oyer come to be? How does it? What brings it out? This is the Rotzing, the divine will to impact on the worldly level. That internally projects as a spheres, because how is it going to impact the worldly level? Only through coming through an orderly fashion.
Amen. Be careful, it's ripped. Huh?
Yeah, I noticed. It says that Do we have this clearly, or do I need to remember? You have it clearly, okay. So this is what's called Esses Spheres Agnosis. It's 10 spheres, but the Gnosis means they contained within their source, within the Ein Sof. Since that they are contained within the Ein Sof, they carry along with them the impact, the power, and the truth of the Ein Sof itself, because their presence is not a separate presence; they are contained within their source, Agnosis. So even though it's 10 spheres, but it's like world. How world is contained within its source, its creator. Projection. It has a completely different level of truth. This is called Chad v'lo b'chushbon. Chad, one. V'lo b'chushbon.
Chad v'lo b'chushbon is referencing the Esses Spheres of Gnusos.
Right.
And it's Chad because it's all so united and wrapped into one.
Contained within the Ein Sof, right. He has not yet started the cheshbon of the process. Okay, at the end of that line, the line begins Madrege ho'ala Madrege ho'ala b'fad Madrege do'er. That's it's got to the great line. Shem b'chinas Esses Spheres Agnosis hang b'chinas Yischadus Mamosh, which are b'chinas Yischadus Mamosh in true unity with the Ein Sof and among themselves also. Because the principle that is manifest there, it speaks about the Ein Sof, not about the Esses Spheres. Again, I don't have to go in the Sholim because we have discussed this a great length. Omar, regarding this Madrege, the Pasuk says, Mimono afar Yankiv. Who can count afar Yankiv? The dust of Yankiv. Yankiv, you remember in first of all the tshuvah. Sheheseho b'bchinas bli mos mispar mamash. This is the quality, the aspect of bli mispar mamash, truly without any number. This is bli gvul. In other words, this is the Chad, which is beyond count. V'gam yesh lema, and there too it is correct to say that this is blin mama b'chad kan chali dei zeh, because shali dei zeh, that alizei zeh, through this process, this is finished. Mamshichim, you draw bechinas ha'Ein Sof, bechinas bli gvul mamash. You draw the Ein Sof that is bli gvul mamash. Not the Esses Spheres Agnosis, but through this you draw from the source of the Esses Spheres Agnosis. Because the Esses Spheres there are contained within the Ein Sof. Do we have the place? Zayin afar Yankiv. This is the implication, the word afar Yankiv, the dust of Yankiv. What is the dust of Yankiv if we do this? Kmei Efer Poro, it's like the ashes of the Poro, Shemetaher as Atmei. That can purify blinktara to those who are tomei. How can you metaher tmei? You know what that, poraduma? It's metaher tmei mesim, tmei mes, which is a very profound tumor. How you can be metaher? Alidei hahamshocha. This tahara comes by drawing me'atzmus ein sof, from the atzmus of ein sof, completely above the whole union of creation. You will lead back to atzmus ein sof. Bechinas ma. No, Maim Chayim. Bechinas Maim Chayim, which is one of the processes of the Poraduma. Question is boy Yil, Binyan Poraduma. As we discussed before in Binyan Poraduma, the Poraduma, there is the Maim Chayim that is put upon these ashes, or ashes put into Maim Chayim. And for this, the Apostle says, Afar Yankiv Davke. Afar Yankiv, the dust of Yankiv. Davka means B'tog Yankiv as opposed to Yisrael. Shehuin Yana Bali Tshuvah. That occurs Bali Tshuvah level. Zehu Maimono Afar Yankiv. This is the meaning of the pasuk. Mimono Afar Yankiv. How can you possibly count Afar Yankiv? Yankiv is in for tshuva, and there is no count there. Shalidei ha-tshuva, because through tshuva mamshichim lebchinas as esfiras hagnusim ma'atzila. Through tshuva you draw the oil from the esfiras hagnusis. That's esfiras as they are contained in their inception. She'einon bebchinas hamshocha klal, which are not in a form of hamshocha. They have not come forth outside of their source at all. Hagnuza says they're contained and treasured within their source. So this, you mamshich from the oil, the first madriga of oil, which is Eshes Filas Hagnuzis, which are contained in Matzil. V'gam, and also mebchinas atzmus ein soif habli gvul. Along with that, you also draw from Atzmus in Yisrael Habli Gvul that which contains the Eshes Filas. As we said many times, that the oil in Soif, that in oil there is two aspects of Soif. There is the oil itself and its container, what it's connected to. U'mispor es REBBE Yisrael. And then there is a second part of the pasuk. U'mispor and count REBBE Yisrael. What's it, REBBE Yisrael? Hu ha'amshocha shal dei Torah mitzvos. This is the amshocha that comes to Torah mitzvos. This is Yisrael. Shezeh bechinas mispor. Torah mitzvos is bechinas mispor. There is a count. Avshar lo yisofer. But the mispor itself is lo yisofer. As we said many times, I said that there is Taketariyah mitzvahs, only 613, but the 613 themselves subdivided into such multiplicity that there is no count. Cool. All right. So, Sashala for this morning. Tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem, I don't know if we should go to the next line because it's just a review what we learned today. Okay, this is it. Maybe we'll go to the end of the pamphlet.
The word rubber, which will show what rubber. What is the word rubber? What is it? Will show what?
That which